Welcome, everyone, to the 14th episode of the 792 Florida Sports Podcast. I am Hunter Williams, and I'm joined from Joey from Florida Football _HS. You can follow that on Instagram. But anyway, welcome aboard.
Thank you, Hunter.
All right. So obviously, we went through a pretty good, pretty eventful season so far, but it's only getting started. About to head into the playoffs. But of course, before we head into that, I forgot to ask before we came on. You mentioned that you were going to be potentially checking out the Columbia versus North Marion game this past week. Did you end up getting to check that game out?
Yeah, I got there around maybe 7 minutes to go in the second quarter.
Okay, so I guess I would say at the time it was still it was pretty much neck and neck at that time, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Correct.
What was your overall thoughts with both teams going in there?
Well, I think for North Marion, they definitely had a chip on their shoulder in that tough district with Donnell and the Vanguard. They had almost a must-win game, and you see they won that game, and they're still sitting at the 7th seed in the 5A playoffs. And on Columbia's side, the loss to Atlantic a couple of weeks ago, they needed to prove that they were on top of the 6A on the Region 1 and 2 side. Because you saw the preseason prediction, Columbia was favored to go against Miami Central, and that's what I had for a lot of the weeks was Columbia versus Central in the state championship. But now you have Lee emerging, the undefeated Gaither down in Tampa, so it was both a big game for teams going into the playoff.
Well, I will. Gaither they lost to Armwood this past week, but that game was very close. So they probably are going to. I would say they probably are the favorite to come out of Region 2. Region 1, it's really a huge toss-up because, I guess outside of maybe New Samira, pretty much anybody in that region could realistically come out and win it.
Oh, for sure. You got. Let me pull it up, but I believe there's still Lee in that Division 2 or that region.
Yeah.
As well, and Lee had the win over Columbia, so that's almost an edge for both teams. You also have Escambia sitting at the top as well. Yeah,
because then you also have Mainland. You got Pensacola, Washington, even though I don't think they could beat Escambia after how that first game went. Then you got Ponte Vedra and St. Augustine. So there are some good teams in that region. Overall, I did say on the podcast last week, I did feel going into that North Marion game that was really a must-win for Columbia because they needed to go out there and prove that they were going to have momentum going to the playoffs.
Oh, for sure.
They definitely did not come out with a win, and 3 of the last 4 losses is not the way you want to go into the playoffs. Though,
definitely.
I did watch a little bit of film and such on Ponte Vedra. From what I could tell, I didn't feel like they are going to be as strong of a running team compared to Atlantic or North Marion, but they could present some trouble. But we'll probably get into that later on. Overall, what was your biggest takeaway with Columbia from that game?
From that game, it was relatively close, as you said, in the first half. But then it started to look like Columbia up front. They were getting tired, especially on the defensive line, and that led a solid run game for North Marion. Multiple, at least 60-yard rushers for that team, including the quarterback. Can't remember his name, but the quarterback for North Marion also had a very nice performance. And I think that's where pretty much on the defensive side of the ball for Columbia, the game was almost lost. They're getting beat up front, beat in the trenches, and they're just going to come back with it.
Yeah, I remember keeping an eye on that during the game, and it was it took 45 minutes out of 48 for Columbia to finally stop North Marion with a defensive stop. Every other drive before then, outside of course the kneel down at the end of the second quarter, but in terms of true drives, every single drive ended with North Marion scoring a touchdown.
Yeah. That was a huge game changer.
Yeah, and that had to be probably one of the overall most poor performances I've seen with stopping a team from Columbia probably in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, hopefully they learned something from that because they cannot go into the playoffs giving up a touchdown every single drive.
Mm-hmm. And they got a hungry Sharks team ahead of them. Then they have to go up there, so they're going into opponent's territory. So you have to go that game, and then you have that rematch with Lee and then you're in the third round, but still two tough games that Columbia has got to get past to even get considered to face Miami Central or Naples, whoever comes out of the southern region.
For sure. We also saw a couple of pretty good, interesting week one results. Well, week 11. I don't know why I say week one, but okay. Bluntstown gave Baker their first loss in what was basically a conference championship, 33-7. Madison County knocked off 7A Crestview, 34-13. Both teams are heading to the playoffs. Bulls knocked off Mainland, 21-10. Northwestern blanked Miami Edison 30-0. Columbus pulled what I would consider an upset, 27-7 over Atlantic.
Yeah.
Then we had Swanee of all teams. They played at Dublin, Georgia. They lost 77-48. I guess all I could say about that is like I would have thought at first that would have been like a basketball score just looking at it.
Yeah.
Hialeah gave South Day their third straight loss, 29-24. Rockledge won over Cocoa in a big-time rivalry down in Brevard County, 24-17. Dillard won the Soul Bowl, 60-14 over Ely, and Pahokee knocked off Glade Central 21-17 in the Muck Bowl.
Mm-hmm. What about Pahokee? I mean, they're sitting at a 2 seed in the bottom region of 1A with only 4 wins. It just shows you how hard their schedule has been. And I wouldn't sleep on them to possibly go to the semifinals versus Madison County. Pahokee does look pretty good.
I can see it as a possibility. And I guess, speaking of 1A, I guess we'll just go right on into it. Obviously, like with 1A, I would have to think at this point that it's clear a clear favorite is definitely Madison County.
Yeah, for sure. Wins over Dunellen and can't remember the other team. The Lakewood game, I heard there was some controversy in the Lakewood game for Madison County, but aside from that, they are taking down the big teams.
Yeah, like the only really decisive loss that Madison had this year was to Columbia when Columbia was still undefeated and the number one team at 6A. So really, they did, and they hung with Columbia for 3.5 quarters. They just their depth just started to wear down like towards the right at like probably 6-minute mark of the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I guess is there really anyone that could potentially like give them a run for their money in 1A? Because like I have my doubts. I could see a few teams that might well hang with them for a little bit. I just don't see anyone that could probably do it over a course of a full game.
Yeah, when I look at the bracket, I think of Bluntstown now that they beat Baker. It's almost looking like they will advance to the state championship and play Madison County. But even if that happens, I still don't think Bluntstown will match up very good with Madison. Before that, I'm seeing Lafayette on here. They might have a nice shot, but even they've been caught sleeping a couple of times this year in their regular season schedule. So I still think Madison County is at least a 2-touchdown favorite to win the state championship versus whoever they play.
Yeah, I agree with that. You mentioned Pahokee. I guess if they could ever somehow like get it together, they might have a chance. They probably the only team in 1A, I think, like talent-wise, could probably match up with Madison, even though I don't think they really have like the same level of depth or the coaching that Madison has.
First-year coach at Pahokee. Saw that the other day. First-year coach at Pahokee, and they really just got to find a way to put that talent together. And I wonder what the mentality is down there. The 4-win season, you're still a 2 seed, so you have some kind of like momentum to push your team up. But at the same time, like I said, 4 wins, they've been dealing with almost a losing season and got to go into either Hawthorne or Wildwood. So just got to get the mentality straight, really, is the big thing for Pahokee.
And on top of that, I think another thing that might be the biggest thing going in their favor now is the fact with them getting that first round bye, they get a chance to rest up because their schedule's been brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, so that.
Then we move into 2A. Right now I'm seeing Championat Catholic. I would say they're probably the favorite right now, 2A. And then I guess you have like teams like Victory Christian that you can consider as a potential make a you get what I'm saying, could compete with them. And then you got like maybe a Miami Christian, maybe a University Christian. But that's pretty much where I would say like I would draw the line of teams that I could realistically see coming out of 2A as the champion.
Yeah, Victory Christian and University Christian, I have that being a semifinal matchup. Right now, I have University Christian winning a close football game. But I still wouldn't sleep on Victory Christian. They are trying to put some season together, get back to that state championship kind of mentality. And I wouldn't be surprised at that Region 3. You have teams like Cambridge Christian, Sefner Christian, Northside Christian. That will be competitive up there, and maybe they could go, maybe it's hard to tell, but maybe have a close game in the semifinals.
All right. What's your thoughts overall with like someone like Miami Christian?
Yeah, Miami Christian, it's Miami. I've learned over the past couple of years, it's so much of a Broward and Dade. It's so much a different, hard to say. Like in Tampa, and you have Armwood, you have Plant. They are the top guys in the county. Down there, it's all over the place. I mean, one year Central's on top, Northwestern's on top, and Miami Christian just falls on the wrong side. They have the easy schedules, but then they go play a couple of the big boys. I think with Miami Norland, they might have played, and they struggled versus that one. So I think they'll make it to the third round. Or no, because they have to run into let me see. I don't know.
I think they have to play. They may have to play Champagnat. I think potentially in the second round.
Oh yeah, so yeah, definitely won't make it past the second round if you ask me. Not a bad team, they just fall in the wrong spot.
I would say though, if they could somehow pull the upset over Champagnat, I would see them likely making it at least to the Final Four, if not the finals.
Yeah,
but of course that's a tall task to do for anybody in 2A, much less Miami Christian.
Yeah, definitely.
3A, it's I would say overall probably down to two. There's basically been the matchup everyone's expected since the start of the season: Trinity Christian and Chaminade. I guess then you got a couple of maybe dark horses like with Clearwater Central Catholic, Florida High, or Pensacola Catholic, or maybe even a Miami Edison. But I would say the money bet is still Trinity and Chaminade.
I think on the Region 1 and 2 side, it's still up for grabs a little bit. TCA sitting there, but they still have a big game versus Trinity Catholic, and they've had I'd say the hardest schedule in the state, but they still got a big game against Trinity Catholic, and then they move into Pensacola Catholic if they win that game. So they got to get out of that. Lakeland Christian's not a bad team that's sitting down there at the bottom of Region 2, but I think Madonna is the only team that will pretty much go through, is almost a lock on 3A. Berkeley Prep sitting there at Region 1. Yet, like you said, Clearwater Central Catholic. I don't think Edison's at the point yet where they can knock out Madonna, but for now, I'm going to say, Madonna's got a state championship appearance versus Trinity Christian Academy.
I know that's going to definitely be the money matchup. I guess it's really been expected since the season started. That's what most people felt was going to be the finals.
It's kind of a down year for TCA, knocking off. I think that's probably knocking off some hype of this game, and especially the Madonna loss to Vero Beach a couple of weeks ago, knocking off their undefeated season. But I still think TCA is going to be a state championship contender, even though there's some nice teams on their side of the bracket.
All right. I guess moving to 4A, you got 4A seems to be pretty wide open at this point, in my opinion. Crazy. You got Cocoa up in the north, then you got Miami, Washington, Cardinal Gibbons, Carroll City, Gulliver Prep, and U School, all in the 4A South. And then you can also throw in, I guess, like a Lakewood in Region 3 or Bowles in Region 1.
Yeah. Hey, I think from this standpoint, Region 4 has got to be the toughest region in the state of Florida. Gulliver sitting at 1, University sitting at 2. You still have that big game, Booker T. Washington versus Miami Carroll City.